Good evening, dear viewers of Smart 24 TV. You're welcome once again to be part of our discussion. My name is Dr. Joseph Tinjebwa, and we are blessed this evening to have our guests with us. And alongside me, we have Pastor Noluwa Joseph Edokpolo.
You tried, it's good. It's a tongue twister, so it's okay.
Thank you so much, and you will introduce yourself better than my own.
Okay.
And we appreciate to have honored our invitation, and also we would like again, dear viewers, to introduce to you Mr. Paul Kawanguzi, who is has been part of our panels, or our discussion. He is an economic policy analyst expert, and we are blessed to be with you once again, Mr. Paul. Thank you so much. Our topic of discussion is the ideals of effective labor industry and entrepreneurship in developing economies. But I feel better if you introduce yourselves. Thank you, sir.
All right. So my name is Noluwa Edokpolo. Usually, I'm silent on the Joseph. I am a business coach, a business consultant. I work with organizations, particularly SMEs, to craft strategy, to design their business strategies, etc. I do a lot of work for the International Labour Organization as a trainer on their leading business management training program called the Start and Improve Your Business, SIYB.
Okay.
And so that's the space I play, consulting for organizations to help them to devise business strategies and implement those strategies. I'm also a certified organizational development practitioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Come all the way from Nigeria?
Yes.
Which state?
So I'm based in Lagos.
That's Lagos.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm from Edo State, but my business and my work and my life is all in Lagos.
Thank you for coming all the way from west now to east.
East.
We are blessed and very happy to be with you.
My pleasure. Thank you so
please.
much.
Yes.
Yeah, dear colleagues, the general public that's actually watching us, my name is Paul Kawanguzi. I've always been here. I am a public policy expert and a legal expert, because I'm a lawyer by training from Makerere University. And I've always been here actually discussing issues of national importance.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be here with our good friend from the West. I know by the end of this program, you would have learned a lot from him.
I'm expecting to learn also.
Yeah, of course. Like I've already said, you're not always the best, but I know our being here is enough to show that we have something actually to put on the table. So I trust that we shall do our best, make sure that we actually don't waste people's time. That we give value for money for people listening to this, viewing and listening to this television. So I'm confident that by the end of this program, we should have learned something as a nation, as a country, as a continent. Everyone that actually watches this program should have learned something.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Smart Television for giving us this great opportunity to appear here. I know we aren't the best, but you say let us come and have a deliberation here. So thank you so much. We trust that by God's guidance we shall do what is required of us.
Thank you, sir. Dear viewers, we come to you with a topic of discussion, the ideals of effective labor industry. And we have a deliberate reason why we came up with this topic for tonight, to discuss with you, to share with you the views before us. For just a brief preamble, we understand that economic growth cannot occur where we have challenges, especially in labor productivity. Because when we talk about GDP, gross domestic product, that means at a wider scale, there should be a reasonable level of productivity, especially beginning with labor and as connecting to other necessary resources, economic resources that gear towards economic development. And in our discussion tonight, we look at the entrepreneurship in developing countries. It's a long story to recall, but there's been a question of debate, as some of us, we always remember that trade existed in Africa we began with barter trade in our early days. But finally, there was a paradox of barter trade, which now took us to slave trade. But coming from all that time, we have a neighborhood country, Tanzania, and those Arab countries which were engaged in trade, there were those who were referred as traders and there were those who were referred as businessmen. But as the society evolved to where we are, we have had an interesting populacy in the African continent, specifically Uganda. In order for people to earn a living, most of our colleagues and people outside there, they believe that if you go for business, you can make it faster. But again, to have the ideals that can make or lead to this realization, it is a question of debate. There are some who have graduated from even small scale, entrepreneurship to macro, large scale entrepreneurship. There are others who have suffered some challenges. You start a business, but tomorrow you are not able to sustain it. But it remains to ask ourselves and to our dear viewers there, how can we have the best ideals that can drive effective labor industry? Very soon concerning labor, we understand that on 1st May, we'll be celebrating the International Labor Day. We are facing the scenario in Africa, I believe even it's affecting over there in Nigeria, where we have our human resource being exported as, labor export, but at a level which we couldn't expect to be happening, especially where our fellow countrymen and countrywomen are almost like exchanged for just, peanut money to go and work in these Eastern countries. Having said that, please, allow me to welcome you to take us through this discussion, and we would like to see how we can improve our community to be a better community. Tonight, we are in a spirit of Pan-Africanism. We have you from West Africa, and we are happy that for so far, what we will be learning from you, recalling the level of economic growth of your country, we know, your fellow countrymen and countrywomen over there, they are very aggressive in doing business.
You've got it.
And we would like to hear exactly what drives them. You're welcome, you can take us through, sir.
Thank you very much. Again, it's a privilege, and I want to thank you, Doctor. Thank you also, sir. And I also want to thank the station, Smart TV. So you ask what is driving us in Nigeria. I think that there is a Nigerian spirit, such that the Nigerian believes that it is possible. I think that's a fundamental thing. We have a belief that it is possible. And so some of our brothers and sisters in other parts of Africa might even find us sometimes arrogant. You know what I mean? But I don't know where it came from, but you just believe, growing up, as a child, you just have to make it happen. You have to succeed. And somehow that spirit of can do has become a signature for Nigerians all over the world. And so that is also playing out, in the business space, in the entrepreneurship space. You find that some of the leading fintech companies coming out of Africa are Nigerians. Some of the biggest amounts of funding coming into new businesses, particularly in the tech sector, is coming into Nigeria. So yes, so I think that what I would say is that before any other thing, in terms of maybe infrastructure, etc., government policy and what have you, I think that there is a Nigerian spirit that just believes that he can make it, he or she can make it. Anywhere you find a Nigerian, they would, and this is true whether they're in Uganda, in Finland, anywhere they are, the Nigerian believes he can make it. So yes, we have that can-do spirit, yes.
That's great. You go on, we were looking at a number of challenges before we go to how we can come out of where we are to the next level. A number of challenges that the African labor force has faced and which has hindered what could have been referred as a prosperous global entrepreneurship, trend. And maybe through the lessons and the understanding, I would like you to share with the viewers. We can learn a lot from you.
Okay.
Once again, welcome.
Challenges. Yes. I think that, we in the so-called developing world, and that's Nigeria, that's Uganda, that's all of us, in Africa, even more so in the sub-Saharan Africa, we are plagued almost by the same challenges: insecurity, deficit infrastructure, corruption, etc., etc., etc. Those are the ailments are the same across board. But like I said, there is that for the Nigerian. There's the can-do spirit. But beyond that, I think also that over the years, government policy has begun to slightly move in the direction of enabling businesses. Okay, I think it is also clear to government that unless you enable your people, there will be no tax, and if you don't get taxes from the people, then you cannot run the business of government. All right. For us, for example, and I think this is a good time to say this. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I was saying to him, I hope that oil will not become to you what it has become to us. It's almost like a curse, all right? But if you do things right, then oil can be a blessing, okay? So oil money made us lazy as a government, as a people. But now that it is dwindling and it's almost running out, I think everybody's trying to get back to the drawing table to say, how can we do things differently? So what is happening today in Nigeria is that there's an interplay of the people's natural enthusiasm and a zeal to succeed on the one hand. There is what I might call the democratization of access. The internet has made it such that you can sit in your house with your computer and you can do incredible things. So the information technology has shortened the gap between conception and starting up a business. It has made, that's why, for example, look at some of the businesses that we have in Nigeria: Flutterwave, Paystack, etc., etc. These are young boys who just had their computers and their brain, literally. You know what I mean? And today, Flutterwave is what was valued at, last time I checked, $3 billion. It is actually more, in terms of valuation, bigger than many of our banks that are, older than it. So technology also has come to help, in liberalizing the business space. So you have the people's natural, zeal. You have, government becoming aware and beginning to tackle the things that hinder, things like, skill, funding, access to market, infrastructure, etc., etc. And then, of course, there is the aspect of technology. Technology has really come to shorten the gap, between those, once upon a time, you needed huge, resource, whether it's men, material, or money to do a business. But today, in the technology space, these phones are just as powerful, if not, to make you break out there. So those are some of the things that have worked for Nigeria. The people's enthusiasm, government beginning to, create some kind of, environment in terms of policy, etc., etc. And then technology. I think those are the three things that have come together to help us, to break away and begin to make an impact and succeed in business.
Do you think there have been some challenges that still exist?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Huge challenges. In terms of infrastructure, still a big problem for us. For Nigeria right now, security is a big deal. And I must again commend Uganda. Incidentally, just before I came in here, I was having a chat with somebody I just met at the lobby of the hotel. And he was saying to me that 10 years ago, he was to come and start up a business in Uganda. And he said when he was coming, it was just one narrow road from the airport to town. There was a law-resistant army, etc., etc. So he wrote a report and said, no, we can't do business in Uganda. It's not safe. But guess what? He's back in Uganda to start a business 10 years after.
10 years after?
Yes.
Because now there's security.
There's security. Yes, he was just telling me he's back.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, but for us, unfortunately, it's the other way around right now. So for us in Nigeria, security is a huge problem, and it's really affecting businesses all across the country. Huge, yeah. So we have that as a major problem. We have also infrastructure. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten it right with power.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nigeria needs, is it 40,000 megawatts or something? We have barely 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that 5,000 sometimes just goes off. I mean, nationwide, So we have the issues of infrastructure, insecurity, we have the issues of power, So those are some of the things that are, deeply, working against businesses, particularly the small businesses in Nigeria right now.
Thank you so much. I will be coming back to you. We'll go into the in-depth to know exactly what drives an effective labor industry, labor force in Nigeria, possibly looking at the policy framework and how those who enter into the labor industry, whether formal or informal, are regulated and are treated. We will need to know the comparative study with that and maybe what you recommend later. But please, thank you for your this submission. Mr. Paul, you're welcome. Let's look at your submission, at least how we can be able to bridge either whether there are existing gaps in this way within the labor industry in Uganda, and possibly to inspire the viewers how we can come where we are and we go to the next level, because we must see productivity in our populace in order to support our economy. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph, and visiting pastor and colleague here.
Thank you.
Who has ably submitted about the economy of Nigeria, giving us what the situation is actually in Nigeria. First of all, we need to be aware, and I want our viewers to understand that labor is one of the factors of production. So when we talk about productivity, we are talking about the factors. What contributes to productivity? It is labor. If you want anything, if you have set up a TV like this, among the things you must put into consideration is the labor force. Which people are going to work there? Who is going to be on the cameras? Who is going to host? Who is going to do what? Who is going to sweep? Who is going to read the news anchors, the reporters, all that. So labor is a very great factor of production. And incidentally, when we're reading this in economics now, earlier elementary economics, people would just read labor is a factor of what? Labor is a factor of production. But few of us actually take it to be important. I don't know whether you're aware, Joseph. I have seen people, for example, it is easier for some people to manage people's businesses, but it is very hard for them to manage their businesses. I don't know why. You can manage here, if they say Joseph is the general manager of this division, you can be an effective manager. But when it gets to yours, it is a different story. And I don't know, I think we need to conduct a research and find out what actually is happening.
Do you have some assumptions in regard to that?
Because you have even seen many people have been given, for example, pensions. They have been paid pensions, and they open up businesses. It doesn't even celebrate its first birthday. I don't know whether they make wrong choices or what, but we find it's very hard for somebody to say, I have been a great manager at Smart 24, but I want to open up my own shop.
You're a great worker.
I don't actually know what is actually affecting us, but I know he has talked about some of these factors. I need to re-echo what he talked about, the issue of the culture. The culture. Having a culture of positivity in society is very important. Like he's telling me that in Nigeria, for them, they believe that everything is possible. It can work out. We have lazy communities, by the way, if you don't know. We also have hardworking communities here in Uganda. You find people who are hardworking. They'll even tell you when you're actually married. They'll tell you, so and so, that tribe is kind of lazy. Those are lazy people. You're only going to feed them. They can't work. And we have a community, if you're getting their wife, they'll tell you that one is hardworking. So we have a cultural connotation to that, to work also. And
as you go on, we are interacting. Yes. As you go on, what impresses me most, it's not about even one's qualification. You find a certain kind of people, they have tuned their mind, never went to school. Exactly. They are hardworking, they have money, they are employing those who are you can continue.
Have people who are qualified with very high qualifications, but when you give that person work, first of all, the morale is always very low. We even think of different things. the issues of trust. You know, productivity is it means a lot of things, the level of concentration, what motivates you. Some people, their motivation is money. How much am I getting a salary? But I've seen people, I don't know, you'd also discover that people who earn too much in many organizations work less. In many organizations, they work less. I don't know, it also brings laziness. So I don't even want to think that there's a relationship between the pay and the productivity. I don't even want to think there is that relationship. Because you find very hardworking people, they are paid less.
Those who are working hard.
Yeah, and they are working hard. I'll give you a scenario. You go to private schools in Uganda here. Many of these teachers in private schools, they are paid less. But the productivity is high. They'll teach. They will teach compared to those in government schools, state government-owned schools, who are paid too much money. The government teacher will tell you, for as long as I'm paid, I will not mind. After all, my salary will come at the end of the what?
End of the month.
I don't know, there's this kind of assurance. And there's a lot of laxity. So that at the end of the day, that's why you see the performance in many of these schools is actually what? It is actually poor. So I don't want to relate. I don't want to feel there's a correlation between payment and what?
And productivity.
But you know, sometimes maybe it goes to systems, supervision, systems that are set, supervision. Because when you go, for example, in private businesses, few people want to run this business professionally. Now I want to answer you, why you, who is the manager here at Smart 24, cannot go back to manage your personal business. We especially most people in Africa, they don't want to run businesses professionally. When you come to Smart 24, you'll find a system that has been built. So they only hire you to fit in that what? That system. And that's why for him he's training people. He's always training people in managing small businesses, SMEs. In Uganda, you may find somebody, once he opens up a shop, he will pick the money anytime he wants. If you employ a person to take care of your shop, he will pick money anytime. You know, even you pick 100 shillings thinking it's not money. There are no systems. Here at Smart 24, you cannot just pick money the way you want. If you want money, you do a requisition form. It must be approved. It goes through processes. So we don't have discipline, financial discipline. You know, you can kill business easily once you don't have the financial discipline that is actually needed. It's very easy.
You're on track, and I'm appreciating your submission. We want to be relating with the population. Here in Kampala, yes, we know there are those who are engaged in business. But we have now the wider community population, especially those who are dealing with agriculture, and which I'm picking a point, and a point of reference from what you've just said. Someone is participating here. This is an agrarian economy. I believe in Nigerian too, it's an agrarian economy. And what he has said, some go for, let's say, agro-business. But the discipline and the culture of handling whether a growing agro-business is not there. And finally, it is very difficult to realize profitability and then continuity.
You know, most of our businesses are so informal. If you come out to research here in Uganda, you may find that very, very few businesses are actually registered. Very few businesses are what? Registered. So that means, you know, these businesses can't put into perspective what we call corporate governance. They cannot. They cannot. They don't move according to principles. Somebody will pick money out of business anytime he wants, simply because he's the executive director. He is the one who is actually financing the company. Or even tell you, even when his girlfriend actually wants money, just make a call, please give me money. You know, people like I've told you don't have discipline when it comes to, that is in line with businesses. But at a level, the labor force, why we have low productivity, low labor productivity, for example, in Uganda. I have always actually told you on this program that our training, many of our training institutions don't instill, you know, I have told you, many people just go through university training institutions, but the training institutions don't go through them. Somebody will tell you, I went through Makerere, but there is no Makerere in that person. Wherever you went, it can be a university, maybe Kampala International, maybe Victoria, any university. I know people who are actually, who have first-class degrees. But if you tell them to prove their first-class degrees, it's actually a problem. So this goes back again to the training.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we said, that's why we will come to the idea of the competence-based training.
Mm-hmm.
Which competences do you have? What can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Because we said a good education is one that can actually solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't solve a problem, of course, you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, productivity is all about looking at what you are supposed to do and make sure that you do it excellently.
Mm-hmm.
If you are here and we are saying we want you to host the program,
Mm-hmm.
then you must be in position, one, to have proper communication skills. You must be in position to have proper analytical skills.
Mm-hmm.
You must be logical.
Mm-hmm.
You must put into perspective what you are going to put before the public.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you know we want people to listen to this program, so you must even be having the ability, for example, to attract people who come to this show and give the public what they want.
Yes.
It is part of what you should have.
Mm-hmm.
We are having people who have completed, for example, mass communication. Many of them can't even manage. I mean, they can't even communicate.
Mm-hmm.
A mass communicator can't communicate,
Mm-hmm.
but they have qualifications
Mm-hmm.
from universities. Somebody will tell you, I did videography, but cannot even set cameras in a studio like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to the training. Is our training competence-based?
Mm-hmm.
Or it is just going through universities and getting marks, grades? You say, you know, for me, I got a first class, second class, upper, but when they tell you to defend it, you can't even defend it. I can tell you many graduates in Africa. I'll just give a case of Uganda. Many of them, when you put them before an interview panel, they cannot even express themselves. They cannot. You have somebody who is qualified as a teacher. But when you tell him, now can you express yourself to us? Now we are in class. Can you now start teaching us? You see just somebody even starting to relate.
Seriously?
Now, how do you have productivity in such a situation?
Mm-hmm.
So are we having the rightful fit?
Mm-hmm.
Are people really going for qualifications? Are they going for careers that they wanted? Or you know, I don't know, there's an issue of career guidance. Because in most cases, we lose actually natural professionals.
Mm-hmm.
You find somebody who would have been a doctor, and again, he's not a lawyer. Somebody who is supposed to be a lawyer is in the medical field. I think we need to identify the talents quite earlier so that we guide our people as early as what? As early as possible. You find somebody who is supposed to be in the military being a doctor. That's why you see people, you see the rate at which people die. Every person he or she operates dies. I think you're getting the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Have you identified these talents early enough?
Mm-hmm.
That's why this new model, this new policy of government, of competence, I like it so much. Because for it is looking at how they are assessing the master of the student early enough. Say that if you want to be a police officer, it must be by passion. You like it. If you really like to be a footballer, for example, you've seen many flops in football, in the football industry now. Somebody is in the football industry because it is actually earning so much. They are paying too much. You don't find a natural footballer always perform. Somebody who is not natural just go to a football academy simply because he wants an employment there. But when it comes to productivity, he will not actually what? Not perform. So we must go back. We must actually emphasize the issue of competence-based training, because this is what is actually going to drive our labor industry. We shall have productivity there. Let me tell you, my brother Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people, you know, I was surprised one of these days. I think a few years ago, when they say that, for example, they are getting nuts and putting it in the hands of the army.
Mm-hmm.
I think you remember.
Mm-hmm.
That they are putting it in the hands of UPDF.
Mm-hmm. For advisor supervision, operational creation wealth.
That's what we are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Operational wealth creation.
Yes.
Then we say now, how about the people trained in agriculture? The agriculture extension officers. Because I thought we needed these technical people. These are the technical people. To make sure that we have this program down. And many, like for example, you may discover that, and that's what I told you, somebody who is not supposed to have done agriculture, you may find him becoming an agriculture extension worker because he was just guided there to find a job, to sit there, but the passion is low. You know, you cannot be an agriculture extension officer without even a garden. Actually, for me, if I was given a job, I'd ask you, where is your garden, first of all? Where is your garden? Where is your farm, a small farm? At least show me, even if it is 2 birds, chicken. An agriculture extension officer who doesn't have a goat, you cannot qualify if I was actually the recruitment officer. One of the things I would ask for is you demonstrate to me the gardens you have.
You're competent.
Because for you are telling you how to be an agriculture extension officer. Which competences do you have? Which extension are you going to tell us? You know, this notion of telling us that to do what I say but don't do what I do, it cannot happen, it cannot work out.
Thank you,
So
Mr. Paul.
these are things that go to the core of the labor force.
Yes, sir.
If we want a productive labor force, we must go back and identify talent earlier before, in the inception. If Joseph, you're supposed to be a pastor, then you shouldn't even go in meander. You need to make a pastor even before. Because you know you're a man of God, that's why you can perform best. We need spiritual leaders in this country. Do you understand?
Yes,
so,
sir.
you can even be a champion in the university. This is what you're talking about.
Can be chaplain. We pastor in the university.
This is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay?
So
Now you find, that's why you see, people who are not supposed to be, people who are supposed to be in bars, managing DJs, they're not pastors.
are supposed to be DJs.
Yes, that's what you see.
God can transform them.
Listen, the rates of rape are high in churches. You find pastors impregnating followers in churches. Because they're supposed to be DJs, I mean, in that world.
God can transform them.
It doesn't matter. So we must go back. My issue is going back to identify what?
Yes.
Identify talent as early as what? As early as possible if you want in productivity. Now that we're going to celebrate the International Labour Day on the 1st of May, we need to call upon our government to make sure that it walks the talk.
Thank you.
You know, it is different telling us that there's this policy of competence-based training that we encourage in schools. You must walk the talk. We must enable schools, make sure that it implements this program. Like we've already said, our government is having very nice programs, but when it comes to implementation, it is where the problem is. I think it is.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Yeah, I had to be reminded of how passionately you wanted to give a submission that indeed was feeling on what is happening in our society. And we'll be coming back to you. It's not yet over. Our dear guest, Nalua Joseph Edok Polo. Now I have known. Now I have known it. We have really a desire. By the time you expressed the willingness to come over here, and the desire to have an understanding, I'll give you 10 minutes in this regard.
Okay.
What, besides all other points you've submitted, what has stirred up a number of local investors, the Nigerian nationals, to build a business bases that are prospered in the country. And as I told you before, I had a testimony about Dangote.
Yes, yes.
And there are others also who have spread as far as South Africa. We heard that Dangote is about to come in Uganda. But here in Uganda, the prominent business person that is being praised to be contributing to taxes and the national economy, even the GDP we can talk about 35. We understand that there are few successful macro business, entrepreneurs who have made it. And we mentioned here, we have Mukwano, we have, Vavamuno, there are others, and more others. But some of them, like which we are able to recall, by origin, they were not, the inborn citizens of this country.
Okay.
But to you, we borrow a lot. We compare and we hear what's happening in Nigeria is different. You talked about enabling environment. We heard about that. But which other vivid testimony that can inspire the viewers of how they can make it right away, whether you are educated or whether you're not educated, and to make it in business equally to grow and reach to a level that can help this country?
Okay. Let me use an illustration. I think yesterday we went to the park. Is it Elizabeth? Am I right? Queen Elizabeth, is that the name? Or is it Victoria? There's a park we went yesterday. And you know when these animals are doing their migrations, there's a point where a lot of them will go into the river and then to swim to the other side. Yeah. When those animals dive into that water, the only thing that they are focused on is crossing successfully. So the crocodiles won't get them, the lions won't get them, etc., etc. So I think that from a Nigerian perspective, the number one motivation is the motivation to succeed. And that's very critical because it's really the survival. The businesses that have triumphed in Nigeria, they've triumphed because the people who are behind them wanted to succeed. They wanted to survive. So I think it's very important that mindset must be understood. The mindset that says, I will succeed. That is the Nigerian story. And so, and that I will succeed is saying, I will succeed not minding the obstacles ahead of me. All right? Such that Nigerians would, in fact, turn those obstacles to become enablers. You know what I mean? So you talk about there is insecurity. You'll be surprised that somebody will make a business out of insecurity.
Yes.
He will provide, nobody wants you. So there is that, so I think that's one. So, that's for me, that's, I think, in terms of, what am I saying, for example, to the young entrepreneur in Uganda who is trying to see how he's going to make it? I think the first thing I'm going to say to you is that from Nigeria, we do not believe in the word impossible. We just go for it. So that's number one. Number two is, yes, I heard what my brother was talking about, the quality of education. It is true that our quality of education could be better, no doubt. But you find a very strange, I don't know what they call it strange, but an occurrence. Nigerians leave Nigeria, haven't schooled in Nigeria, they go abroad and they excel. You know what I mean? So this guy finished on a public university in Nigeria that we all thought, it wasn't too good, he was struggling. He goes to the best universities abroad and he excels. So I think sometimes, the hardship that we go through in Africa makes us strong. All right? So, so there's that can-do spirit, there's that willingness, to break boundaries. Because if you think about it, if I just, cast my mind back and I say to myself, okay, so there's Dangote, there's GTB is here, UBA is here, all right? These are all Nigerian businesses. There's Dangote, there's GTB, there's UBA, there's Flutterwave, there's Paystack. If you look at all of these businesses, how did they succeed? They succeeded because the promoters, were willing to succeed, not minding the obstacles. And I think that's very important because if you look at obstacles, you won't do much. All right? So having said that, as the years go by, I think also that government is beginning to recognize the need to enable, to create an enabling environment. Okay? So for example, I know that, pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID, government has deliberately looked for ways and means to tackle three things that afflict entrepreneurs. Number one is the entrepreneur, the entrepreneur him or herself. In other words, skills. All right, you have both technical and business management skills. So there's the technical skills. All right, so there's a lot of work going on in Nigeria today, both by government, by NGOs, by private individuals, to equip people with vocational skills. All right, that's going on. On the other hand, also we also have now business management training going on. I mean, I talked about the SIYB.
Is it funded by the government or
there are different players throwing in their bits. I mean, I have done a lot of work with foreign donors. I've done a lot of work with the ILO in terms of business management skills training. All right. I mean, just before I came, I went to the heartland of our, of our insecurity. There's a place called in the north, I think it's the northwest now. Yeah, northwest. There's a place called Borno State, Maiduguri. That is the hotbed of our war with the Islamic insurgents.
That's the Boko Haram.
Yeah, Boko Haram. Yeah. So right there in that place, there's a deliberate effort now to equip the young people, because the thinking is that the reason why they are easy recruits for the Boko Harams is because of joblessness and they're not financially enabled. So the point they're trying to make there is that if you want to solve this problem of Boko Haram, the best way is to give the young people viable alternatives. All right. So as I speak to you now, I just saw the videos here. The people I trained are training young people in those places with vocational skills and business management skills. All right. So you have the individual trainer. That's one. Two, you have finance. All right. So now government has created multiple avenues to finance entrepreneurs. They have money for, rice growers. They have money for some of the Hollywood and the Nollywood movies you watch here, Nigerian movies, are actually financed by government. All right, so government is providing finance for the entertainment sector. Government is providing finance for the tech sector. All right, so they are doing that. And then there's also the issue of access to markets. All right, because those are the core things that the entrepreneurs battles with: skills, technical and management, access to finance, and then access to markets. All right. So in that regard, we have the there's the export promotion agency. So there are again different things are being done to ease access to market. Now we are far from where we should be, no doubt, but recognizing that this is a problem and beginning to deal with it. Okay, then come back again to what is responsible for some of this growth that we see in Nigeria is Nigerians have realize that technology has become a barrier breaker. All right, and people are willing to learn. There's a lot of work going on now on coding, software development, etc., etc. And there's a young man that I know very well who was working for one of these cab hailing businesses back in Ghana. He's a Nigerian but working in Ghana. He works for Bolt. He left Bolt and he's designed a software to do some stuff in the HR space, and he just got some funding of about $4 million. And that happens day in, day out in almost every sphere, in medical sphere, I was listening the other day to some two young men who are Harvard trained people, left America, came to Nigeria, and they're using technology to overhaul a particular value chain. I think it's the palm produce value chain. All right. So we're also leveraging on technology. And the beauty of technology, there are some young boys in Lagos who live in Nigeria but are working for companies in the Silicon Valley in San Francisco. They actually work for them from Nigeria. So this is one of the things that I think is responsible for, for me, if you ask me, I think the biggest reason, if I must say, is that determination that, I must enter into this river and I must come out safely on the other side. The crocodile won't get me, the lion won't get me, you know what I mean? So the Nigerian entrepreneur wants to succeed and is willing to do whatever he has to do to succeed. I think every other thing is just an appendage to that drive to succeed.
Oh, thank you so much. It is a challenging statement to the viewers over there, those who've been believing that you cannot make it, because I know it is very clear to most of our graduates. Finished yesterday, maybe, graduated, they make parties here, serious parties, and put on, gowns and so forth. So the following day, what one will do, will pick an envelope and begin going around looking for jobs. And that's one of the dilemma we are in here in Uganda. But I hear what is recommendable to the dear viewers, you policy stakeholders that are viewing us, and dear parents like me. This is a very, great submission that can turn around things. We must believe that, yes, we can do it. And the positivity of the mind is crucial. So after the graduation, which we're encouraging, our children to go for and so forth, even those who have not gone for graduation, I have liked the one which here is being, talked about, but the emphasis have not yet realized it. I'm going to be going to Mr. Paul around 5 minutes to do that evaluation. You talk about vocational skills here in Uganda. Even there are some institutes which have been put in place, but the emphasis is not yet realized. You talked about entrepreneurship, the government deliberate effort to put funds that aims at uplifting, the standards of the youth. You talked about entertainment, and I want to tell you here, our fellow citizens, they enjoy those films of the Nigerian, and when you begin those play, they like them very much. But now that is a challenge to you Ugandans, my fellow Ugandans. That's why can't we also facilitate the same? That's entertainment, which part even connects to tourism. So one question before I go to Mr. Paul.
Yes.
What's the level of unemployment in Nigeria? And what is maybe the projection of reducing that kind of unemployment that may be the same challenge that has affected Uganda? We have had serious, a good number, quite a good number of our young youth. Some have finished university, others have finished certificate level, who are going as labor export to labor externalization to Abu Dhabi, to those countries. So I don't know, you can give us your maybe.
Yes, we have a huge population. Some will say 180 million, some will say 200 million. I don't have the latest figures, but I think if I remember well, I was reading somewhere that we have an unemployment rate of probably over 30 or so percent.
30%?
Yes, 33% I think I read somewhere. I'm not sure anymore, but I know that it's high. I mean, if you just look at the number of young people, you don't even need to do too much research.
The unemployed are like at 33%?
I think so, yes.
And for us it is 75.
Yeah. Last I'm not sure about that figure. But the point is this: there is a high level of unemployment for the simple fact that we have a high population, and our population is mostly young people. And one of the reasons why we have this upsurge in Boko Haram is the idle hand is the devil's workshop. That statement was true when it was first made, God knows how many years ago. It is still true today. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's why, for example, the work that is being done in Borno and the Northwest and the Northeast, they are realizing now that it's not enough to radicalize them. When you finish all that process, what happens to that young man? What happens to that young woman? If there are no viable alternatives, the chances are the fellow will go back, to the militants who are willing to give them money. All right. So we have a high unemployment problem in Nigeria. Yes. But how is that being tackled? All right. I wish I could say that we were doing a good job of tackling it. Unfortunately, personally, I do not think we've done, as well as we should. And also, the little that is being done is being severely hampered by the issues of insurgency, which is a big problem in our country today. It's really, it's affecting the country. So yeah, we have a high unemployment rate issue, problems, but how do you address that? Not until manufacturing, for example, is the bedrock. If you have a manufacturing sector, they will employ people. Agriculture would employ people. Now, so any government, whether in Nigeria or Uganda, that wants to tackle the issues of unemployment must look towards industries that that do mass employment. So talk about manufacturing, talk about agriculture, etc. And so the more emphasis is placed on those kind of sectors, the better for us. So ideally, what government ought to be doing is to channel funding to those industries. So it's almost as if you want money from us, our question to you should be, how many people do you want to employ? You know what I mean? If you come to us as government and you say, government, give me land or give me this. My question to you would be, yes, I can do what you're asking, but in return, how many of my people are you going to give gainful employment? All right, and that should therefore inform policy directions, etc., etc.
Yes,
but
yes.
Sometimes that doesn't happen, and so we're a bit, affected by that right now, even in our country.
Thank you so much. We learn a lot from that. Mr. Paul, I'm coming back to you. We have had all that happens, and we can also make things happen in Uganda. Me and you and those outside there. I believe we can. We must see a change of attitude. But we continue to look at the law of legal framework and policy at a play. Because we look at, besides the change of mindset and the attitude, but there are also deliberate effort the government has invested in the Nigerians, in the economy. And been referring to them as, in Africa, much as they are not the best in the world, but they are the best in Africa in terms of good, higher GDP, and of which something we admire. What should we do with our country, especially economy, by supporting the labor industry and the entrepreneurship in terms of referring to, briefly, legal framework that is favorable, and also actualizing what we mean to do?
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. I listened to
Norua.
They are actually submitting. And, I was looking at what the Nigerian government has actually done. And I was looking at what the Ugandan government has done here. I also appreciate that the Ugandan government has actually appreciated that we can only now, based on technology, to transform this country. And I think we had a debate here about technology and how technology can actually transform the world, how it can transform Uganda. But the biggest problem is that we have not paid attention to the nitty-gritties of what we need to make sure that we get there. For example, look at the costs. First of all, the infrastructure in terms of internet. You may find that certain parts of this country don't have access to internet. It hinders productivity, for example. We're talking about electricity, whereas we have a lot. The question is how much? How much do you need actually to have power? First of all, the connection fees are in position, for example, to connect power privately in case you need it. Number two, I told you, my village here, Nijinja City here, we got power, if you recall very well. We got power. The lines, those wires, passed my village in 1996. In a place called Budondo. The place is called Kizia.
Kizia, yes.
1996. But since 1996, my village has never had a transformer.
Up to today.
Yet
you are from Jinja where, hydropower is manufactured from.
Talking about. So the connectivity, how many households are connected on the national grid, if you're actually going to ask that question? So there is having power. You say now, for example, have too much power in terms of the dams, we have power, but the question is, what is the relationship between the too much power that we have and the usage by the common person? Because now, we'll agree that in order to transform ourselves, because most of the things we need to do is, we cannot do them through emphasizing the SMEs, the small scale industries, enterprises, which actually need power.
Yes.
Of recent, you had here in Parliament, we had a COVID stimulus that was actually posted with the Uganda Development Bank. You had the complex. That chiefs were coming from government to direct on who to give and who not to give them. One time I was actually watching in a committee session when the managing director of UDB, Uganda Development Bank, was being asked to give a report, just give the people, the list of the beneficiaries. I think up to now it has never come out.
The list of the beneficiaries. And yet the money is being...
The COVID stimulus. I think you're getting the whole thing. So what he's talking about in terms of how their government actually responded to COVID. So the problem here in Uganda is high levels of corruption and what we call order from above sometimes, and which is actually, people take advantage of this order from above. and actually fail government what? Fail
Government
programs.
programs.
You have a nice program, for example, the COVID stimulus. Money is there, it has been given, but you know at the end of the day it can't reach the rightful person. The other challenge that we also have in currently in Uganda, I think you understand it. Because apart from the labor, if you want to be a good entrepreneur, you also need capital.
Capital.
And you know, I'm not looking at capital in terms of only government giving you capital. I'm looking at how able can you raise your personal capital. It is unfortunate that in Uganda, most of the land is not registered.
Land.
Most of the land is not what? Registered. Because the easiest way you get capital is actually through
mortgage.
A loan, a mortgage. I mean, getting loan from a bank. But I mean, you can do your research. The highest amount that a bank can give you with the agreement, for example, is 20 million shillings.
20 million?
20.
With an agreement?
With an agreement.
Even I think that's luck if they are trusting
This
you.
is what I'm telling you.
That's when they are trusting you so
That's
much.
what I'm saying, the highest. But I mean, how much can
In most cases, 5 million, 10 million.
But also the cost of even processing this loan. Like one time I told you, how much do you need, for example, to process the 20 million shillings? So most of our land is not registered. Because if you have to get money, the easiest you can do, if you have a land title, you can always get any money you want by the from the bank.
Thank you.
So these are things that we must pay attention to, apart from looking at government as a source of funding. Because government will tell you about available money through microfinance support center, it is there. We have available money through circles. I think you are getting the whole thing.
Yes, thank you,
But
Mr.
the biggest question of the day is this money actually being put to the rightful use? Is it true that the people that are getting it are the rightful persons? You know, we have a problem of where the rich end up getting this same money, and this money doesn't go to the poor. You know, we had a discussion about the parish model, and our biggest question was, will this money really go to the rightful persons, owing to our past experience on how government resources have been misappropriated?
Mr. Kaunguzi, you'll hold on to that, and we will resume in the next session. We are just going for a brief commercial break, but this is, you know, a very powerful conversation that you don't miss. It is a conversation of the year. And we think we can make a change from where we have been to another level. And we go to another level. We'll just be returning back. Stay with us on Smart 24 TV. And the guests are still with us.